and to be consistent with it. So it all works until my children decide they need some craft paper. Then it just
We'll put it up higher.
Yes.
Can you put them up higher?
Then it's too high for me, Tony.
Right. Right. Okay.
You haven't met me in person, but I'm probably up to your belly button. But
right. Okay. All right. I'm not that tall.
No, all good. So
funny.
I think we've got about 10 more minutes. Let's see if anyone's got any questions before we sort of wrap up there. Mark's got a thumbs up. Post-its don't give unicorns though. Oh, Tanya works with me. She's beautiful. This is sort of an insider joke. So Asana, I don't know if you're familiar with Asana. It's a
Asana, there's Asana and Trello and all that.
Yep. So Asana does this thing where you tick off a whole lot of tasks. It sends through a flying you get a flying unicorn. Yes, it's fabulous. I hadn't turned on the settings for that for quite a few years, and Tanya rocked on and she's like, I've got like 10 unicorns. I'm like, does that mean I haven't been doing anything? But like I said, find something that keeps, and that's one way of Asana's method of keeping people motivated, right?
Correct.
To reward them with
it's a reward. It's a reward. We want to, and other
unicorn.
People are happy to write stuff down on bits of paper and cross them off. My preference, and I said this last week, my preference is not to have to-do lists, rather to allocate the time in your calendar. So I'd much rather that rather than say, hey, here's a list of 10 things, I'd much rather say from 2 to 3, I'm going to do that. From 11 till 12, I'm going to do that. So you're actually taking them off your to-do list and you're plugging them into your calendar. And so, again, that's the easier part. The harder part, we touched on the word before, which is the D word, which is called discipline. So that is, it's in my calendar, I need to do that at this time, as opposed to, oh, that's just a meeting with myself. I'll get to that later. And which is what we do, right? We go to get all, we compartmentalize our calendar. And it's like, no, if it's in the calendar, be diligent with yourself and go, this is the time that I need. I've just come back from a 3-day entrepreneurial retreat in the Gold Coast. And one of the things so it was with Roger James Hamilton. And one of the things he talked about is around getting in flow. And I'm not sure if your audience is up with that, but getting in flow, getting in your best state. And he talked about the way that he gets in flow is he allocates a different day for different tasks. Now he's in a position where he runs, it's over $100 million business. But if I bring it back to our level for people who are, looking to climb up and grow our small businesses, chunk things down and compartmentalize. So that is, start off and you might spend some time in the morning doing your strategic stuff. So working on your business, not in your business. Then you might do some administrative tasks. Then you might go and do some follow-up phone calls. When you're doing your strategic thinking, turn the phone off, shut that little dinger down that tells you there's emails that come off. I mean, I don't have that thing on anyway, but I know plenty of people do. Shut that down and just focus on your strategy. Focus on working on your business, not in your business. And I'll guarantee you shut the phone down for an hour or two, the sky will still be up. It will be. And, the world will still be going. But we have it in our mind that it's like, well, but if I turn the phone off for an hour, what am I going to miss out on? I've got this severe, case of FOMO. Yeah. But it's like, well, do you want to strategize and move your business forward, or do you not? And so I encourage my clients to shut the phone down, give themselves a distraction-free time. And in fact, I did it this afternoon. I had a new client. We spent 3 hours together. I was actually telling you earlier tonight, Cheryl, and we shut down the distractions. We turned our phones off. We shut it all down, and we just focused on strategizing for this particular business. And you have to do that. Now, you don't have to go and spend 3 hours, but that's what we did this afternoon. You might even just spend an hour. Okay. I'll guarantee you, in the majority of cases, in 99.9% of cases, if you have your phone off for an hour and the phone rings, everything will be okay when you call them back in an hour's time or half an hour's time or whatever. It's going to be okay in 99.9% of cases.
Richie says, and this is probably one for another session, from your experience,
we've got next week's topic.
How can someone like myself who's new to development sell their vision to investors? So what would that come under? Is that belief.
Sell the vision to sell for money. So he's looking for money partners.
No, are you looking
so
for
selling
money
the
partners?
vision to looking for money partners to investors.
Mm.
Well, he's got to come across as being. It's got to be a great deal for starters. He's got to come across as being convincing. It's also the support network around him. So if I was an investor and I had an inexperienced person at the helm, I'd want to know who else is in the team. So, so you might be at the helm and you might be inexperienced, and we all have to do our first deal, right? So we've all got to start somewhere, but have a great team around you. So you might have a really experienced civil engineer, a really experienced town planner, and a really experienced civil contractor, and so on and so forth. You've got this team of people. So even though you might be inexperienced, there's enough people there from an investment point of view to go, you know what? This is a great project. Ultimately, of course, it's also about the profitability side of things as well.
Yeah. Richard, this is probably a question that I deal with on a daily basis when we're looking at partnerships and funding, and we do look at a few key risk factors, and one is the track record and experience of the developer. So I'd definitely start at looking at being a partner with someone who's definitely more experienced, being a part of that process to begin with, and you can see how it all comes together, and you'll be able to speak with a lot more confidence to your investors because you've gone through that process, you've gone through the trenches. That's what investors, when they're looking at a deal, when they're looking at a JV, is my money going to be safe, right? And if you can put hand to heart that you're doing everything in your ability to ensure that investors' funds are kept safe, and you're managing the risk, then that management of risk does come down to experience.
Sure does.
And it definitely be looking at either, like you said, a mentor, a business partner, someone to be able to mentor you with your first few deals, and make sure you put money in as well, because it makes a huge difference to have skin in the game. Don't have skin in the game. You may not realize, and I know there are a lot of strategies where you talk about no money down or very little money down, and that's fine. But even with little money down, that's still some skin in the game, because you're at the risk of losing your own money. Put your own money at risk first before you put anyone else's. So that's my tip for the evening. Davina, we're at the tail end, and
Davina, hello.
How are you? I've been listening into your videos. I know you've been extra busy, and talk about someone that's been trying to keep her motivation up and has done well. Hello. You've done a whole unpacking of a whole house. How many rooms was that? Do you know, Tony? Are you across Davina's?
I haven't. No, I haven't. I know that I should be, but I haven't been. I'm so sorry, Davina. I've been away at an entrepreneurial retreat all weekend, so but I will catch up with it, and her and I'll catch up next week, and I'm confident I'll get an update.
Yeah, excellent. Davina, I think I'm happy to celebrate with you with your next big win. That's deal number 3, and she's been working hard with you, Tony, on that.
She has. Doing an incredible job. Yeah, she's doing an amazing job. So I'm incredibly proud of her, and she's grown a lot. And I mean, she can. In fact, she is talking about her story. So if you want to hear Davina speak, Davina's going to be speaking at the Property Developer Network meetup in Sydney on I think it's Saturday the 27th of July, I think. Sure. That's the Saturday. Davina's actually speaking. And for those in Sydney who want to see me in person, I'll be there all day on that day as well. So I'm flying down to Sydney to see Davina speak. And also we've got a property development information session in the morning. So I'll be at that, and then I'll be at Melbourne the week after. So if you're in Melbourne, you're watching this and you want to come and say hello to myself, I'll be with Rob Flux as well. But if you want to come and say hello to Rob or I, then we'll be in town on the 3rd of August, I think it is, and whatever the Saturday is. I think it's the 3rd of August. So so I'd love to come and see you all and try and help you all as best I can.
Excellent. Well, July the 27th is only in a few short weeks. I can't believe it.
It is
so quickly.
Yeah, it is.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to Davina's presentation, and she's going to talk about the challenges that she had and how she's been able to stay motivated as well. And it hasn't been easy for her, and there's certainly been a few bits and pieces that we've had to work our way through. But the great news is that she's a wonderful student, incredibly coachable, and is prepared to get out there and take action. And ultimately, for all of our success, it comes back to those two words. And again, I've said a few times where I was over the course of the last 3 days. And the biggest difference between successful people and not so successful people, it's not that the successful people are smarter, it's that they chose to take action. There's so many smart people who have the ability, they choose to not take action for a whole range of reasons. But there's people there who aren't as smart, but they run with something, they challenge themselves, they grow, they learn, they make mistakes, they fall down, they get up, they go again, etc. They constantly take action because, again, if I can loop back around to the whole topic of this last hour, they have something that's further down the road than where they are that they're working towards. They understand why they're doing it, and they understand what they're working towards, and they are so clear on that. They are crystal clear on what that is, and they're the ones who succeed because they've taken action. So for all of you out there, we've gone through a whole bit of stuff on motivation, but ultimately it comes down to tomorrow morning when that alarm clock goes off, you get up and you take action, and you don't lie there and hit the snooze button, because when you hit the snooze button, and you constantly hit the snooze button, or you set a meeting in your calendar and you say, you know what, it's just with me, so I'll just do that later. What you're doing is you're putting yourself second. Those little actions, when you build those actions up on top, where I'm hitting the snooze button, I'm deciding not to go to the gym, I'll do that later, I don't feel like it, supposed to have a meeting with myself, not going to do that, and you're putting yourself as a lower priority. And when you do that over a longer period of time, it's no wonder that people are not successful.
One last question from Jin. He says, how do you track against goals which are not directly quantifiable, like character traits, patience and integrity? Should they even be goals in the first place?
Well, patience you could track, because you could see the times when there's a situation where perhaps you were impatient. So you're able to track that. I mean, it's a little bit more difficult, I get it. But if your whole goal is to really work hard on being patient, then measure yourself on, were you impatient? Get conscious with thoughts and start to recognize, well, you know what, I was impatient during that particular time. But here's the thing, my impatience has reduced from last week to this week. So there are ways that you can do it. I appreciate that it's not the same, but be a little bit creative with how you do it.
Yeah, and I guess also if you're consistent with implementing whatever tools it is to that get triggered when you feel like you're being impatient, that's that self-awareness, right? Whether it's counting backwards or whatever, because obviously I've got young children and I go, be able to have control over your own emotions. So this is something like I talk about to
breathe.
Yes, breathe, and while they go, rah! But it's also something that we as adults, like we often don't, we forget as well, because we, as much as they do, have control. Well, they're not so much, because they're the cognitive sort of development there, but we as adults do, and we have control over how we react to things. And that includes whether you're being impatient with someone or being impatient. And I think when you start implementing the little tools that become little rituals or habits, then all of a sudden it doesn't become an issue. Then you're just naturally just patient and zen like a monk.
No, that's true. And I would reframe it as choosing to respond. So rather than choosing to react, I would use it as choosing to respond. So that is that you're responding, you're being proactive, as opposed to reactive. Does that make sense? So just a slight twist on the wording, but focus on how do I choose to respond. Is there another question?
Okay. Yeah, yes, there's more. They're pouring in.
Oh my goodness! Oh, they're piling in. Wowee.
Scott's responding to Jen. I reckon these are your values and underpin what you feel successful. That's very, very true. Davina, get a coach. Wink, wink. TonyMeredithCoaching.com.au.
Thank you, Davina.
Shameless plug.
It's
He will
funny.
tell you
Well,
that you are.
wasn't from me, right? Wasn't from me.
That's right.
On this
he
occasion,
will tell
anyway.
you that you are impatient. Tanya, I love my snooze button. I love my snooze button, but I love my team. Your team loves you as well, Tanya. We actually have a 7 a.m. call tomorrow. But Tanya, that's actually 9 a.m. New Zealand time. So that's a real sleep in for you. Scott, success is your definition. The Mexican fisherman is a great story. That is a great. Are you familiar with the Mexican fisherman story?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not familiar with it. No, I'll have to look that up.
Scott's going to have to share that one day. Good. I think we've gone past 9 o'clock.
Oh my goodness, we've gone past the hour.
Hey? Oh, good. Thank you so much, everyone, who shared sort of comments, questions with us. And if you've got any particular sort of topic that you'd like us to discuss next week, I keep saying next year. I mean, next financial year. It's already in the new. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate everyone taking some time out of their Tuesday evening for this. You can go back to Netflix or focusing on what you're working on.
This is far more entertaining than Netflix, Cheryl.
It's fabulous. It's fabulous.
And we've got plenty of people still on after the hour. We've still got plenty of people on. So it's been great. I've really enjoyed it. Hopefully people have got plenty of value out of it.
Thanks,
we certainly pour our heart into this. And as Cheryl said, please put your comments in. What do you want us to talk about next week? We're doing this. We don't do this for ourselves. We do this to add value into the community. So let us know the things that you talked about. Tonight's topic was because someone last week said they wanted to talk about motivation. So here we are talking about that. So if you want us to pull apart a particular topic, then let us know. And next week, we'll pull it apart.
That's exactly right. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Cheryl.
You go. You take care of yourself. Thanks so much for your time. And thank you, everyone else.
See ya. Bye, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.